Here.
Kay Levy.
Here.
Jack Cadenhead.
Here.
Claudia Willis.
Here.
Amy Cole-Frazier.
Here.
The consent agenda, all of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at board meetings will be approved by one vote unless any board member desires to have a separate vote on any or all of these items. The consent agenda consists of the discussion, consideration, and approval of the following items. A, the minutes from the September 11th, 2014 special board meeting. B, financial reports, including the activity accounts and the treasurer's report. C, encumbrances and changes as follows. The general fund, fiscal year 15, number 1188 through 1487, number 50,001 through 50,237. Number 2, general nutrition fund, fiscal year 15, number 60 through 30, and number 50,003 through 50,019. D, fundraisers. E, resignations. F, contract with Seminole State College at Euler Park Baseball Field.
Madam President, I would ask to have item 3A pulled out and considered separately.
Okay.
I'll make a motion we approve item 3A of the consent agenda.
Second that.
Roll call.
Jamie Mills.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Abstain.
Amy Cole-Frazier.
I will abstain.
And I'll make a motion to approve items 3B through 3F of the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Frazier.
Yes.
Jamie Mills.
Yes. Introduction of guests and public discussion by those who requested audience. We have several. A is William Schote.
You might remind him of the.
Oh, we have a 2-minute, yeah, go ahead and come up. We have 2 minutes each.
Mrs. Hardy called me a little while ago and said she would not be here.
Who did?
Yeah, last
Miss Hardy.
time I was here, I
B.
left a statement with you, and gave you another statement tonight. Last time I was concerned about the continuing accelerated vandalism out at the Pleasant Grove School. I gave you a photograph of the door that is there, and also gave you a copy of the warranty deed. Said that this is 1926, a warranty deed to the heirs and the signs of School District 45, which is on the building, and also 1948, there was a deed to the Pleasant Grove School District Union graded number 9. And I proposed at that time that the board solicit proposals of what to do with the property on a permanent basis. And I was instructed to direct my comments to Mr. Pritchard, and he's earned his living last month, I guess, with all the correspondence I dealt with. I said, well, let's begin with who owns the property, okay? And so I made an open records request to ask for how do we get from the names on these warranty deeds to whatever they call it today, the assessors calls it Pleasant Grove District 5B. And I did get the State Department of Education gave me a form to fill out, and I did all that. They said they were going to charge me $25 an hour for research. And I said, well, now, at what point do we say that we've done our research if the document doesn't exist, which I presume it may not. I see tonight you have on the agenda consideration to declare the property, Pleasant Grove property as surplus and to conduct a public auction. I will have questions. I don't know if now's the time to submit the questions, but I'm wondering who's going to be preparing the documents for such an auction and approving it. And then, since you're talking about an auction, you're talking about disposal or disposition of money. Where is the money going to go? Does it go into your operating funds? It goes into a capital investment account? Does it retire your bonds, or what do you do with it? And the other thing, more important, I think, is we received this property by warranty deed. Are you prepared to execute a warranty deed to these 16 acres? And by the way, you're going to need to look at the legal descriptions here, I believe. Did I use up my 2 minutes?
Yes, your 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp.
All right. And Linda's not here, so we have Steve Saxon.
Thank you very much for letting me appear. I've got 2 minutes, so I'm going to talk as fast as I possibly can. and tell you that I'm here on item number 12 and on item number 13. Item number 12, I assume I get 2 minutes each, so, no, I'm joking. On the Pleasant Grove property, I drove out there today and looked at it again. I've done this on a couple of different occasions, but it occurs to me that that would be well-suited for a housing addition. And it's got a lagoon system already in place that I believe serves both sides of the property. So you've got 10 acres on the south and 6 acres or so on the north. That would be a really neat place for a housing addition, and I would love to see our Seminole Economic Development Council take a play in that and perhaps develop some housing and raise your tax base. But I'm not prepared to act. Today I'm just a fourth grade football coach. So, what I would like to do is get a little bit of time from you and maybe have it studied a little bit, especially from the health department, to tell me that, yes, I can use that lagoon in that capacity for a housing addition. So if it pleases you, I would really encourage you to give me a few days to figure that out, even if you need to have a special meeting later. But from where I stand today, I'm encouraged, and I think it would be an excellent piece for the Seminole Economic Development Council to take off your hands.
Do you think our next regular board meeting until November 13th, do you think, is that enough time? Would that,
That's up to you, however
Okay.
quick you need. I'm going to act very quickly
Right.
and give you some answers on whether or not it's plausible for us. Okay, item number 13. I just want to tell you that we've got a few parents and children here. Many more are coming in as parent-teacher conferences finish. And I'm carrying the hopes and the dreams of our kids and of our citizens, and just wanted to let you know that we are excited about an opportunity to have a new high school. Many of these folks really don't care where it goes. They just want a new high school. We need it desperately, and I think you guys have had it demonstrated many times how desperate we are for new facilities. I will tell you from a perspective of economic development, we have spent a tremendous amount of money encouraging and putting incentives in front of companies to locate in Seminole, and we've been very successful, thankfully. However, I fear that we're not capturing the families that come along with those jobs. And one of the critical pieces, there are many, but one of the absolute first three things that the families look at when they come to town and look at us as a prospective living place is our school, and particularly our high school. And so I would encourage you, I've given you a letter that kind of outlines where I perceive that we are, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. The first thing is affordability. I think that's one of the main things that you hear when you're on the street. I certainly do when I'm in lunch and such. It's talked about everywhere. Everyone's really excited. And I would just say that since 2008, our per thousand tax levy on our property tax has gone down from $100 per thousand to $94.29 last year, and that continues to fall. The primary reason that is falling at that rate is the city has made a conscious effort, the city council obviously leads that, but they've made a conscious effort to allow our hospital bonds to fall off the rolls or roll off the tax rolls. So there is capacity there. And I hear often, well, I'm going to vote for it as long as it doesn't raise my taxes too much. Well, folks, you've got a built-in, before you even talk about a tax increase, you've got a built-in cushion of about 6% there that as far as I'm concerned, is primed for you guys to take advantage of and put into this project. We need it desperately. And finally, I'll just say, I know my 2 minutes is close.
Okay.
I'll just say that on the last page, I recommended an action item, and I'm probably way out of bounds on that, but one of the things that we had it was a volunteering of significant city fathers that people know and respect, and they have volunteered their time to help put this project together. And I would really encourage you to employ them, not with financial means, but put them to work. They have already said this is the priority for the city of Seminole, and we want to participate. And I would just encourage you to put some task force together. I know the time is very short, but these are great minds that can help us clear the hurdles that it's going to take to get a positive vote when the time comes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm
Saxon.
lucky my timer stopped at 13 seconds a few minutes ago.
We let you do.
And that's for each time.
And if you have
Yeah.
any questions, just give me a call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Trent Tiger.
I'm here to very respectfully disagree with Mr. Saxon. I know 2 minutes isn't a lot, but that's why I wrote it down. So pardon me reading off of a sheet. That's not how I typically do it. But my following opinions are based upon my architectural degree, my intern architect work experience, and information from multiple parties involved in this process. When I first heard about the movement to build a new high school, my response was just like most every other Seminole High School alum, why? The reasons given to me at that time were that the high school was outdated, i.e. classrooms too small, etc., surrounded by low-income neighborhoods, and as a result, driving away potential new business. While that could be true, each one can easily be resolved given the right amount of planning and creative thinking. In reference to the idea of constructing a new high school at the Armory site, or any site for that matter in my opinion, it's my opinion that the school board and the other powers that be in Seminole are being unimaginative and complacent. We're not looking hard enough at what you have. At what we have. You're not thinking outside the box. In fact, you couldn't be closer to the center of the box. The luster of something new and the whimsical thought of leaving a legacy has come to play, and this has potential to be a big mistake. I have seen the schematic plans and the renderings of the new high school and the proposed site, and I am seriously concerned for the following reasons. The proposed site is almost 3 times smaller than the recommended acreage for the size of high school Seminole needs. The new high school schematic doesn't include an auditorium or a gym, and given the site is already too small for the first phase of the classrooms and cafeteria, where will the other amenities go when ready to build? The design classrooms are 750 square foot. 850 square foot should be the minimum, and even that's pushing it. The idea of busing students across the busiest intersections in Seminole is not only a hindrance to their already pressed time in school, but is also uneconomical and unnecessary. You'll be trading old low-income neighborhoods for a new low-income neighborhood. The site is almost completely surrounded by a flood zone. Growing up in Seminole, you always heard the word tradition. Tradition is what defines Seminole graduates. I didn't truly understand what it meant until I started thinking about my sons not attending the same school that I attended, as well as their mother, great-grandfather, grandfather, uncles, aunts, and cousins. That high school is my and every other alum's legacy. The school board should be focused on preserving that, not trading it in for something new in a bad location. My recommendation to you is to focus on the existing high school site. Focus on creating something big, imaginative, outside the box, and long-lasting. Focus on teaching our children that if something very special is broken, you don't throw it away, you fix it and make it even better. Focus on doing something that nobody thought could be done, and I'll even offer my services for free. The decision you make is going to divide the community. There's no doubt in that. But know whichever decision it is, you better be certain that at the end of the road, the people who said you are wrong were not right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trent?
Lauren Schatzel.
I'm so nervous. I told Trent I was going to stand up here and say ditto, ditto, ditto for 2 minutes because I'm on the same team as him. I also very much respect all the people that have put so much time and thought into this. I just stand here and concerned for the people that somehow got overlooked in the process, and I feel like that is a lot for my generation. Parents that currently have students in the schools, people that have attended Seminole with a long legacy of people in their families attending Seminole High School. Tradition is something that is priceless. And that high school is the first place I take visitors because I think it's an amazing structure. Yes, it needs so much help, but it is something to be so proud of in our community. And like Trent said, could be something we could stand as examples to so many people in Oklahoma, so many communities that are facing the same problems as we are. I just got back from a weekend trip in New Orleans. My legs are shaking. I'm so nervous. And something that really, this has been on our heart since we found out about it. Everyone we speak to that knows how we feel about it, and they feel the same way as we do. If you attended Seminole High School, you love it for a reason you can't explain. And we hope that money is raised, and we hope that money is poured back into what has become something so symbolizing of our community. But I did just get back from New Orleans, and what I found to be so true was they don't throw away the tradition they have. They don't move to the suburbs and build big and build new and build what they believe better. They stick to what defines their community. They put love, money, volunteer, anything they have, power into that, and it comes out as an example for the entire country, the entire world. And not that I would say Seminole would ever be New Orleans, gosh, that would be crazy, but I do want you to not forget what we do have, and to just really think. I know people say we'll be using the old building, and as a parent, that really concerns me, of having our kids somewhere where they might have to be transported to other places. I know in the grand design that might not matter, but when my kids are in high school, it will matter, and that's my concern. And I just want you guys to know that if there's anything we can do to make our voice be heard, if we need to make petitions, Carrie and I are working on a really emotional slideshow with alumni expressing what Seminole High School means to them. It's a very, very powerful message we want to get across, and if there's any way we can do it, please let me know. So thank you very much for hearing our voice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Laura Rose? You want to use
She
your
didn't have anything to
time?
talk about. She's just signed up.
Say one thing.
You gotta get that microphone so everybody can hear you.
All right. I've been heard pretty well without one, a lot of years. I'll just echo what Trent and Lauren have said, and the one thing that sticks with me all the time is that whether it was Trent's firm or Chris's firm or Brandon's firm, you know, all three agreed that the high school structurally is sound. And anybody that has ever come, even when we were back with North Central, you know, and they came to look at the building, they said structurally Seminole High School will be standing when Seminole's a ghost town. And I think, like Lauren and the others, that it is part of our tradition, and that not to fully use it as it's been used since 1930 when it was built would be a shame too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Chris Anson?
I'm here for selfish reasons to show support of building a new high school. I have young children in the school. I did not attend the high school myself, so I don't have any of the tradition or nostalgic feelings. I do get that, though. However, as I said, for selfish reasons, I would like to see my children attend, you know, the best that they could possibly have. And I personally don't feel like we can do it in a building in that situation. I don't know how you could possibly transform that building into anything like what you could with the new facility over summer months. I don't know how you could do it while school is in session and be able to make the changes that could be made. But I'm no expertise or no expert in that area. As Steve stated, for the city, as far as the city is concerned, I do have reasons for that also. I think with what the city is doing and trying to recruit new businesses and trying to keep people here, that a new high school would definitely fit well into that future, and you know, making the city grow and just have a place for our children to want to stay, you know, instead of moving away when they grow up and go to college. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Administrative report.
Yes. I'll roll right from the administrative report into our presentation on the budget as soon as I finish with this, if that's all right. Okay. I'd like to congratulate our 2014 academic letter jacket recipients, Hannah Banning, Stephanie Johnson, Abigail Nance, Sadie Yancey, Kelsey Phillips, Lane Griffin, Matthew Froelich, Hunter Ogle, William Doc Harvey, Cody Fisher, and Levine Hyder. This is, kind of the elite of the elite, our top 10%, and it's really proud of these young men and women. They did a fantastic job. Our parent-teacher conferences are tonight and tomorrow evening from 4 to 7. We ended up, they weren't supposed to be on the same night as a board meeting, but with the change in the calendar, it put them that way. So I apologize to anyone that was not able to attend both. Our 4-H club is underway, and I'd like to thank Coach Cheatwood for agreeing to be our sponsor. I think he's going to do a fantastic job. Jack's one of our volunteers, and I appreciate that. I met with some of the representatives from the Oklahoma State Chamber of Commerce about how to improve the A through F system, and hopefully we can find solutions for the many problems that it faces. I'll keep you informed as how those talks go, but we're hoping that we can make that program a better program or come up with something else that's not a detriment to economic development in the state. Our sites are working hard to complete our mini reports, which are due in October. As you'll see in the budget presentation, so many of these reports play into our budget and how much money we receive, and so they're really important. I appreciate their efforts to take care of these reports. I'll move over here so I can maybe see the budget. Okay, each year we talk about our budget and kind of how we come up with the money that we have to run our school system, and I wanted to include some of the aspects of, as far as just how state aid works in Oklahoma and how the formula works for the we haven't been televised before, and I think it might benefit some of the public, and we have quite a few people here as well. They might not understand the state aid formula, and this gives us a little bit of an opportunity to talk about the money we have and also where we receive the money to operate our school system. We're about 18% below our 2009 high water mark, which is about $33.60 per weighted student, below what we were in 08-09, which is sad because the state collections are above what they've ever been, and the fact that we're still below where we were in 2008, 2009 is a sad statement as to the priority that our legislature and our governor put on education. And I hate that it's that way, because we should be back to where we're receiving more than what we were at that time. But like I say, we're $33.60 below per weighted student what we were in 08-09. The revenue sources for all schools in the state of Oklahoma go like this. Local and intermediate sources are coded 1,000 and 2,000, and that's what they're comprised of: your ad valorem, your county mortgage tax, and then the 4 mil that we have is the county 4 mil. State sources are gross production, motor vehicle, rural electric co-op, state school land, vehicle stamp, and then the major one is foundation, salary, incentive aid, and then your federal sources are your title programs and then your IDEA. Any of those that have an asterisk are chargeables, which mean that they're deducted off the top from your state aid. And the formula was put in place to try to equalize funding across the state of Oklahoma. And the chargeables play into that because there's some districts in the state of Oklahoma that actually receive no state aid. We're above the average. The average school in Oklahoma has about 66% of their income is from, or the revenue is from state sources, and ours is about 74%. So we're above the average on how much we receive from the state, which means that we're actually a relatively poor district in the amount of money that we receive from the local sources. Some of the districts that have a lot of local revenue actually receive no state aid whatsoever, because their chargeable is equal enough to where they don't have any state aid. It's all local revenue. For this year, this is the amount that we have coming in, or this is directly off our estimate of needs, which is, in all reality, that's actually our revenue budget, and these figures come from that. This is how much we anticipate receiving on these. And remember now, when we approve the estimate of needs, that those are all based on 90% of what could possibly be collected. And so that's why the figures that I'll show you is what our projected carryover might be, it has always ended up being more than that projected amount because we typically collect, in some cases, over 100%, and our estimate of needs is, by law, is at 90%. And so that's why you'll see a discrepancy each year in how much we say the projected carryover would be, because we have to work off the figures that we're given, but knowing that usually it's going to end up being we collect more than what that the estimate is. Because you see the amounts that we have from our estimate for ad valorem and the county mortgage tax and the county 4 mill. The state sources, you notice, of course, the biggest amounts are the foundation, salary, incentive aid, which is directly tied to your average daily membership, and then the flex benefit. All those are tied, and those are directly from the state off the state aid formula. Then our federal sources, we actually are about 9.4% federal sources, and the average across the state is 11%, which is, it's unusual that we actually have a smaller amount from federal sources than what the average is. Why that is, I really couldn't tell you. With the state aid formula that, like I say, was designed to equalize funding in the state of Oklahoma, the most important things that we have are going on right now, and that's the first quarter statistical report, which is actually a count of how many students we have on any given day. Then our special education child count. The end of year statistical report is matched against the first quarter to come up with our final figures in the summer. And then our child count as far as our free and reduced lunch, gifted count, bilingual count, all those end up with our average daily membership. Now, a lot of people think, and I even hear superintendents talking about how it's average daily attendance, or ADA. It's not ADA, it's ADM. It's average daily membership, and there's a difference between average daily attendance and average daily membership. The membership are just the number of students that are actually on your roll that day. And so this is what it's figured off of, is the average daily membership, not average daily attendance. And if you notice, in the past, it's gone off of 3 prior years. You have 3 years, so it gives you an opportunity if your enrollment drops. You have 2 years to adjust to that. Last year they changed the law to where it's only 2 years that you have to figure it in. And so we're actually this year going off of the 2012-2013 ADM, because that ADM was higher than 2013-2014. Now that can be because your enrollment drops, or it can be because you shift kids from one category to another. As you notice, when we get into our weighted students, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade are just a 1.0 versus what other students might be. And so if that's where you have some pretty large classes, you can actually be down in ADM but have exactly the same number of students you did the year before, or more students, and your other counts can vary as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're down in enrollment, which actually we were down slightly, but it can be other factors that cause that to be the case. Now this is how the formula works for the foundation, salary, incentive aid components. You take the raw average daily membership, which is your count for the first 9 weeks. They go to each of the sites and they count on an average day what was the membership. And then you have the weights that go in with that. Your early childhood students get a 1.3, so they actually count as 1.3 students, if that makes sense. Your kindergarten students count as a 1.5, which that's difficult to understand because the early childhood students, you're limited by law where you can only have 10 students per teacher. Then you have to have an aide for, if you have one student over 10, you have to have a full-time aide with them as well. And so they're the most expensive ones that we educate, but they only count as a 1.3. Kindergarten, you don't have to have the aides. We do have aides, but you're not dictated by law that you have to have those, but they count more than early childhood. So I'm not sure what the rationale is for that. You see 1st grade and 2nd grade are 1.351, 3rd grade is 1.051, and like I mentioned earlier, 4th through 6th grade, 1.0. Don't really get that one. Ms. Willis can attest to those can be expensive to educate and a challenge at times, but whoever came up with this formula, for some reason, that was the figure they gave to 4th, 5th, and 6th grader. And then your special education weight, learning disabled are an additional 0.40, so that'd actually be a 1.4 if you're going in line with what we have with early childhood and that type. Hearing impaired are an additional 2.90, so that'd be added to the 1.0. Vision impaired are addition of a 3.80, so those are the ones that receive the highest weight are your vision impaired students. Then gifted, you get a .34, bilingual, .25, and economically disadvantaged, which is a free and reduced lunch count, that's .25. And then that gets us all the components that we need for our figuring how much we're going to receive from the state. Each year, the foundation aid factor and the salary incentive aid factor, they change. It's just strictly how much they decide with the financial sector at the state, how much they can give per weighted student. And so this year we're at 1614. We've been as high as 1642. And you see that you take our number of weighted students, which we're working off of not last year's but the year before, and that's 2819.09. Multiply that by the foundation aid factor. Then this is where you subtract the chargeables. Like I say, those schools that don't have any state aid, their chargeables would outweigh the amount that they have in the first factor there. And then that, you come up with your net foundation aid from that. And then the formula for transportation hadn't changed forever. Our average daily haul that we get to count, now we haul a lot more students than this, but we only get to count the students that live 1.5 miles from school or further. And so we have 971 of those, and the formula just dictates that it's 33 times 1.39, and so we receive $44,540 for all the transporting of students that we do, and obviously that doesn't even come close to, I mean, one bus costs twice that, so it doesn't even come close to paying for transporting the students, but we do that and we'll continue to do that. Then the salary incentive aid, the incentive factor is 73.37. It's been as high as 77. You multiply that by our number of weighted students, and then just the way this formula was put together, you take your adjusted district valuation and you subtract that from it, and then you multiply what you get from that times incentive mills of 20, and that gives your net salary incentive aid. You add the two together with your foundation aid and your salary incentive aid, and this is our total state aid, just shy of $6 million. You know, this is our projected expenditure budget. Now, this is just this is the one actually that you'll be approving. This is just function code, and of course we take the full amount from the estimate of needs that we've been given that we have to spend, and put all those in the various categories to have a balanced budget. This is a building fund, same thing, and then the child nutrition fund, the same thing. So those are the actual expenditure budgets that we have. Now this is actually broken down further, what we project to spend in each of the categories. If you look at the third column, that's what we actually spent in 2013, 2014, and then the last column is what we are projected to spend in 14, 15. See, our salaries obviously are going up a certain amount because we've included raises for this year. And most all you see this first page is all tied in with salary expenditures. And it continues on pretty much all the way through that page too. And then we get into the other object codes on the left, and in the OCAS code, which I know that Claudia's really familiar with, and Amy is too. That's how we code each of our expenditures, and revenues coded in a similar way. We have to make sure that we have everything coded in the proper way, and our people do a really nice job of ensuring that happens. Then you get into all the various things that we spend money for, or we project that we'll spend money for. And it just continues on. You see diesel, electricity, gasoline, natural gas, and state adopted textbooks, supplemental textbooks, on, appliances, audiovisual, extracurricular supplies, instruments, so on and so forth. Okay, and that's the amount that we come up with. Or when we finish that all up, I've changed pages a little bit too quickly, but our projected general fund revenue is $11,120,181.53. And then you can see our projected general fund expenditures and non-payroll, and then the salary expenses, and that gives us our total projected general fund expenditures of $12,563,690. And obviously, when you look at that, the amount that we project to spend is well above what our estimate of needs is for the money that we have coming in. That's where the fund balance is so important. If you don't have a good fund balance, then you're already in trouble before you ever start. And a lot of people think, oh, that's just extra money that you have to spend, that's your carryover. That's not the case. It's essential to have that to operate. If you don't have that to operate, we would already be in trouble because our projected expenditures exceed what our general fund revenue is from our estimate of needs. Now, schools that ever get in that situation, because schools that don't have a very good fund balance, then they have to go in and change their appropriations and do a supplemental appropriation as their collections come in, if they come in above what the projected are from their estimate of needs. And so we haven't had to do that in a long, long time because we've been able to have a solid enough carryover that we haven't needed to do that. Can you see then our projected carryover at the bottom for 14-15 is $2,378,241.42, and I don't know if you recall this or not, but from last year that is almost identical to what we had projected last year, and we actually ended up with 3.8. So hopefully we'll be in that kind of shape again, but it does vary from year to year. But I really want to brag on our people, our faculty, our staff, and everyone in the office, because they've done a fantastic job taking us from a really small carryover at one time to a good solid carryover where we're probably in the best physical shape of any school in the state of Oklahoma. And that's something to be very proud of as a board because you've had a part in making that happen. And I appreciate your help and your support on that. Of course, the reason for having sufficient fund balance just runs the gamut. It gives us the stability we need, provides security, it's allowed us to give raises, it protects our programs. We've never had to worry about riffing, even when the budget times were tight, and it protects school board members from any possible issues, and the taxpayers from any judgments. Now, the things that we have to consider going forward, and this is just a few of the things, we have to look, of course, at the national debt, what might happen at the national level. We've lost the No Child Left Behind waiver, which is going to restrict the use of funds if we don't get the waiver back, and that becomes a factor. Gross production is something that I always pay close attention to because that kind of tells you how the state's doing. And then with the gridlock that we have on the national level, that makes it difficult for us to get the funds that we need from the federal government. Then, of course, the legislative agenda, the governor's idea on the budget request, all those factor in along with any projected tax cuts, and then, of course, our enrollment and our child count. All those factor in as to what we have to look at in developing our budget. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Fun stuff. All right, so that took us through 6, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we are on 7. Consider and take necessary action to approve the fiscal year 2014-2015 operational budget for general fund, building fund, and child nutrition fund.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Jack Cadenhead,
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Clasure.
Yes.
Jamie Mills.
Yes. Consider and take necessary action to approve a resolution for the school district annual election on February 10th, 2015 for the purpose of election of a school board member, seat number 5.
So moved.
I'll second that. I'm sorry.
Kay seconded.
Okay, I seconded.
Amy Cole-Clasure.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Jamie Mills.
Yes. Consider and take necessary action on the vocational education programs for the fiscal year 2014-2015 school year, family and consumer science, agriculture, education.
Is that contract approval on both of those, or just on, let me see, on agriculture? No, that's not. That's career tech.
It's both.
Yeah, it would be career tech.
does the one cover both of those?
You know, they didn't get that to us until late Friday.
Okay.
So I don't even know exactly what that says, to be honest with you. It should have both of them in there. But if it doesn't, well then, obviously, they didn't send us the correct one.
Are family and consumer science and agriculture education both considered to be under career tech?
Yes, they are. They should both be on there. If they're not, well, then they left one of them on.
Well, this is,
Yeah, it doesn't.
it doesn't specify the courses, it's just a general contract
Yeah,
for
for career. Doesn't say
secondary
either one
career
of them.
Okay, yeah.
tech
Yeah, that's-
education.
that would cover them both then.
Then I move for the approval of agenda item 9.
I'll second.
Kay Levy,
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Jamie Mills.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Fraser.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Consider and take necessary action to approve the Indian policies and procedures for fiscal year 2014-2015.
So moved.
I'll second that. Sorry, go ahead, Claudia.
Jamie Mills.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Fraser.
Yes.
Consider and take necessary action to approve the gifted education plan for fiscal year 2014-2015.
Can you tell us what we're doing at each site?
Rhonda can.
Great.
At Wilson, we have a coordinator at each of the sites at Wilson, at Northwood, middle school and high school. And at Wilson, they are looking at several different options that they're working on. They're looking at robotics as an entry point. And then at 4th, 5th, and 6th, they are developing robotic teams and are planning the competitions that are coming up, as well as at grades 7 and 8. We have several teams that are being put together, and all the sites have already been working on those things. And then at the high school, they are looking at several things to do with competitions that are coming up for the various programs, as well as looking at our ACT scores and plans to raise those, opportunities for our students that qualify for some of the various scholarships, looking to improve that, making sure that our kids have all the opportunities necessary to further their educations and have all the help that they can possibly gain.
I'll make a motion to approve the gifted education plan.
I'll second it.
Jamie Mills.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Fraser.
Yes.
Consider and take necessary action to declare the Pleasant Grove property with the legal description shown below as surplus. This property will be sold at public auction, and the description is down there.
As far as the Pleasant Grove property is concerned, I typically never have a problem giving a fellow board member who requests that we table something, the courtesy of tabling something for a month, or, and in this case, Steve Saxon asking us to do so, that doesn't bother me at all. I really kind of felt that taking the action of declaring it as surplus was letting the public know that we as a school district didn't have any big plans for it and weren't intending to do anything specific with it. But I would make a motion that we go ahead and table any action on the Pleasant Grove property. But I would just ask that we make sure it does appear on next month's agenda so we don't forget about it.
I'll second that.
I would, just for the people here, our first speaker talking about the owner of the property. State law is very clear. When a school district annexes another school district, ownership of that school district goes to the annexing school district.
Are you
So-
giving me a citation authority on that?
Yes, certainly, and I will give you a copy, Mr. Show. Title 70, Section 7-104, subsection A. And then the preceding subsection gives you the procedure for school districts annexing property. And I will give you, and Mr. Pritchard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I wasn't on the board at the time, but I can read the law, and I remember when it all happened, and I can go to the election board and get all the information that we followed the proper procedure for annexing a school district.
Did you inform the county assessor?
We don't have to inform the county assessor. The state statute requires the state superintendent of public instruction to issue an order declaring annexation, and that goes to all the county officers. And I'm going to give you a copy of it. This is an order declaring annexation, and it declares pursuant to the election held on November 2nd, 2010, that the Pleasant Grove School District was annexed by the Seminole School District. And that was issued to all our county offices, and it's of record. It doesn't have to be filed with the county clerk. We follow the law. The order declaring annexation does that. And the statute I provided to you provides that an annexing school district is the owner of that property.
Okay, and what is your authority, what's your citation authority that does not have to be filed in county?
Title 70, Section 7-101,
See if you don't have-
and it's in your hands now, okay?
Good. Now, you understand what's happening here? You deprive our district, our former district, of property for a school, so that if they do put up this housing that was proposed tonight, we may need a school district again.
Madam
And the
President.
We had a
original-
second, right?
Original intent was that each township have 2 sections for school.
That was the original intent, that's in the Constitution, but that was abolished.
By
We
the
have new
Constitution?
laws now, and
Was it
you're,
abolished by the Constitution?
We have a second to the motion. If we could get a roll call on the vote.
for the public's benefit, I wanted to explain this procedure, that our school district followed the law, and we are the owners of this property. We have a right to declare it surplus and sell it if we want. Those proceeds can help our school district, can help our kids, can help our teachers, can help the teachers that used to teach at Pleasant Grove that we hired and gave jobs. And we are now educating those students, okay? Because your old school district couldn't do it. They couldn't make payroll.
Can we get a roll call?
Payroll is a different matter from
Right.
profit.
Okay, we're having a vote now.
Jamie Mills.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Glaser.
Yes.
Discussion and possible action on the next bond election.
I'll jump right in there.
Go for it,
if
Amy.
Someone would like me, anyone would like me to, whether you all want me to or not. I appreciate very much the comments from most everyone that appeared this evening and spoke. Certainly from everyone that spoke with respect to the bond election and feelings toward the old high school and enthusiasm about a new high school. I would like to be able to mull this over a little bit. I would like to be able to read over what Mr. Saxon's presented. We don't have that as an action item this evening. I don't want to save that for another meeting next month, but I would like to know if we could have a special meeting maybe later this week. Maybe not a really
We've got fall break this week.
fall break this week.
Yeah.
I'll be gone next week. So,
Next week. But something just as soon as possible that would allow us to make the decisions that need to be made with respect to what we're looking at in terms of a bond issue, and even what we're looking at primarily with respect to the site of anything that we are considering. For those that may not be aware, when we last met, and it was an open meeting, but it wasn't attended by anyone other than the board and Mr. Pritchard, it was a kind of a brainstorming meeting. We began to question and reconsider, although there had not been formal action adopting the Armory Park as the site of choice. We had begun to discuss and informally reconsider within that meeting whether that was the site that made the most sense. And I spoke out and said, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with the Armory site. I would rather see us build a new high school as part of the existing campus. That's what I would like to see happen. I'd like to see us have a new high school, but still be able to use the auditorium, still have access to the football field and the football stadium. I'd like to see us be able to have a new gym, but to be able to use the old gym as the practice gym, not the old gym, but the best gym we've got right now over there as the old gym. I'd like to see some grade, a grade, not a high school grade even, taking classes in the main floor, the first floor of the high school, in bigger classrooms there. I'd like to possibly see our administration occupy the second floor, perhaps the Alumni Association or something on the third floor, but real legitimate day in, day out use and appreciation of the old building, not for storage, but for it to be cared for and for it to be used by students and to have classes take place there. At the same time, we could have our new, beautiful high school built. I'd like that's just me, what I kind of threw out there. I'd like to see something like that take place because it alleviates transportation concerns. We're no longer worrying about some of our high school students being educated someplace else. My concerns about the Armory property are not necessarily ones that can't be addressed or rectified, but I'm concerned about the size of the site. I haven't been able to get comfortable with that. But this is just what came up and came about as we were brainstorming the other day. I want to be able to consider the things that were raised tonight. I want to be able to consider particularly that which Steve said. I like the idea of being able to consider the points of view of people in the community that are willing to pitch in and help and meet with us and work on particular issues, maybe dividing these issues up and looking at that. So that it's not me just driving around in my car looking at areas and front lawns and things of that nature, or other board members doing the same thing. But I'd like to see us set a special meeting at which we could address some of these issues and make some of these decisions as quickly as possible. Now,
Sounds great. Carly, you say you'll be gone next week?
I'll be gone.
All week?
All week. I won't be back until 29th.
29th, okay.
It's
Which
Wednesday of
is,
the last
Actually, I'll be
Wednesday.
back Tuesday, yeah. So it'll be the 28th.
can everybody be available on the 28th, you think?
Well, I won't be here until that day, that evening. So it'd be 29th. Wednesday would be the earliest I could meet.
Okay. Could we do it, set maybe Wednesday,
I believe so.
perhaps an afternoon, so we have plenty of time to discuss? Would that be good for everyone? Is that okay with your schedule, Debbie?
We're talking the 29th.
We can do noon, 1 o'clock, what works best for everyone?
and I'd really like, I know it is unusual for us to be able to get it televised. If it's not our typical meeting at 5:30, I would love if we're able to, though, and maybe having this amount of time.
I think we can, because I asked David to learn the procedure for our daytime meetings, and he knows how to do that.
I
So he
really,
can- he can do
for the
that.
sake of participation and
Yeah.
being able to inform people, and I would like to say, I would love to hear from as many people as possible,
Right.
even in the interim. And I need to change my phone number on the site to my cell phone, and I'm happy to do that.
You're just going to change your phone number.
That's not, no, I'm changing my
I
phone
wanna
number,
hear
and
from
I'll
you,
let
but I'm
you know
gonna
what
change
that
my
is in
number.
January. And I'm happy, if we can do that too, I might be
Okay.
getting more contact from
Sounds
folks
good.
as well.
And if anyone that wants to send communication to me, I'll forward it directly on to the board members. So any way that you want to get information to the board members, that would be.
And it doesn't have to be
great.
anything formal. If you want to send just an informal email, if you want to call, I'm happy to visit with you. But I would, and it may be that my idea is a nutty one and something that doesn't stand a chance. And it's not an effort really just to please everyone. It was more of an effort to get myself comfortable with some of the things I had identified as problems that had kept me from getting more comfortable with the overall project. And so it maybe we can all work together and come up with a way that addresses some of those that I'd not even thought of yet.
I tell you what, I might try to do too, because we are getting kind of close as far as time's concerned. If we want to have a January election, we need to have that in by November 13th, and this will be pushing it pretty close. And so I might visit with Ron Fisher about the possibility of having a couple of different resolutions ready for us.
If we could
That's
have.
a good idea.
Absolutely. If
Yeah.
we could have a couple of different resolutions.
Yeah, and that way we can be set to vote in any direction that the board decides to go. Now, I will say this, that's the date that my granddaughter's due, so I might not be here if
my
that's the case, but you guys just go right on.
That's exciting.
Well, and I do want to thank everyone who's spoken, and I had a number of calls today, more on wanting a new high school. Location wasn't really discussed. They just wanted the opportunity to vote on a new high school and not put it off any longer. And I think I'm not an expert at where to put it. I don't know about the land close to our current facility and all in there. I have a few concerns about that. I have some concerns a little bit about Magnolia that I've heard. I was told today we were okay there, but is there any way that you can visit? I know Mr. Saxon has a letter here, and for us to read, maybe get with him, talk about the possibilities here with the city's help.
I understand what he's talking about there.
Okay.
And it's really just, it's a matter of the fact that they've allowed those to go off the rolls. That puts us in a situation where the voters aren't actually looking at, because 6% or 6 mills have gone off for the hospital, and so that gives us that much which is actually 6% too, that we could increase without it being a tax increase for them. And so it'd be more a matter of informing the public and let them understand that this is not increasing taxes, and them to understand why it's not. Yeah.
Yes, and because that's really what I heard. They want the opportunity to vote, to tell us. And so.
Is Steve still here?
Yeah.
Steve, now, when did those go off the roll as far as the hospital bonds? Are they on there right now, and they will be going off for this coming year?
They've been coming off.
Been coming off.
Since then.
Okay.
I think they're all retired now.
Okay, so actually they've been paying less, and this would still be a tax increase, but it'd just be putting it back. If we did a 6% increase, it'd be putting it back to where it was at one time.
The way I frame it in the letter, and I think this is probably the way you would want to frame it in the campaign, is we're replacing the old bond debt with the new high school.
Right.
And so that's true.
Right, gotcha.
Absolute truth.
Okay.
Is, yes, your bill will go up from now to then. That's because the debt was allowed to fall off.
Right.
Pending the new school election.
Right. And just be going back to what it was at one point.
Exactly.
Correct. Okay, very good. Thank you.
We've done this before, basically, so well, that's good.
Well, I tend to think that our patrons really want to
Tell us.
They want to tell us, and they want to have that opportunity to vote and to say, this is a worthwhile project or not. And I tend to think that they'll agree.
Does the revenue bond, does it have to state, I know the wording is what's so imperative.
Right,
but
the revenue bond will have to be more specific, and what I'll do is visit with Ron about,
Does it have to state location?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't have state location.
And that makes me think of something that someone mentioned to me on the revenue lease bonds. Is there anything about approval of those if you are owning the property or not owning the property? If those are issued, because that was mentioned to me.
Right, we would have to own the property as far as being able to build something on it. You're talking about as far as with the long-term lease on the Armory property? That's a real good question.
That
That's
I
a
was
real good
asked
question.
that.
That's something I really need,
Because it's a 20-year lease,
yeah,
am
and
I right?
25 years.
5? Okay,
yeah.
25.
Yeah.
I've heard 20, I've heard 25. And so that was mentioned to me as well, and so
You know,
I didn't know how to answer
I
that.
think I got that answer, but I don't recall exactly what that answer was. And I'm assuming that that we were okay to do that, but I'll double check that because that's a really valid point, because we wouldn't want to, go through the process of looking to build on land and them say, no, you don't own this land, you can't do it. And so I'll double check that. That's a good point. It's good.
And you're going to be gone on the,
Well, only if Josephine decides she's coming that day.
so how do we, I mean,
Could we reschedule it at that time if necessary? I mean,
Well, sure,
like
we-
push it
we
a day
can,
or
or-
two, or, well, you may not want to be around for a while. No, I'm kidding.
I'd hate for you to put it off very long
Right.
for,
right, we
yeah,
we
because
don't
this is
have
something
much
we.
time.
No.
Right, and
We
I would
have a
just,
very
I would just
narrow
make sure that I
window.
got all the information for you.
Yes,
And,
okay.
how often do they actually come on the day they're supposed to? I mean, not very
Very
often.
true.
So,
Unless there's a board meeting.
Unless there's a board meeting. But if she did, I'd make sure that I got all the information to you, so you'd have everything that you needed. Plus, I'm sure you'll have a lot of input, and most of you would probably have a pretty good idea of the direction you want to go. And let me
It's Skype in.
just kind of say, and just for anyone that might be wondering, at our board retreat, I think everyone agreed that, that we needed to move forward and look at building a new high school, and really the location became the biggest question. And so I don't think it's that people are really backtracking on that.
Oh.
So, yeah.
I would agree, and no votes were taken.
No.
And it was a lot of discussion. And the only reason I threw that out there is that I don't want people to feel like, oh, they don't need to bother contacting Amy. We know what she thinks. We know where she stands. She's a firm believer in doing this there. I want you to know I'm mulling this over and I'm wrestling with some of these issues. And I really do want to hear your input and what you think, even if it's the polar opposite of mine, because there may very well be something that you share with me that leads to an idea that resolves some of my concerns about one of these issues, and I would just really appreciate the input.
Yeah,
And I thank you all that did share this evening.
Yes, I do
Like,
too.
the board just wants to make a good quality decision. This is the biggest decision that Seminole School Board has made in a long, long time, and they want to make sure they make the right one. And so I applaud them for that.
I think location and also timeline to some extent were the discussions, topics of discussion.
Right.
And-
But when I say timeline, I'm not talking 20 years down the road.
Right.
We're talking,
Yeah. Well, when location becomes
Yeah.
part of the equation, well, then
Right.
timeline has to factor
Right.
in as well.
So we want to put off action and set up
Yes, and
another meeting.
I'll set up a special meeting for the 29th. Is it better for people at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock? Is it,
I'm either way on that.
Either way is
Either way.
Yeah. Either's fine with me.
okay, 12:30.
Cancel something either way.
So 12:30,
Right here at 12:30.
What did we say, 12:30? Well, that's a compromise. That's our first compromise.
There you go.
There we go. We're not like Congress.
Okay, then. 14 is possible executive session to discuss the employment of those certified and/or non-certified personnel listed in agenda items 18 through 20 pursuant to 25 OS Section 307B1. Do we need an executive session? Anybody?
No, I don't.
No?
so.
Okay. Consider, so we don't have 15.
Drops to 18.
We're going to go down to 18. I like that. Consider and take necessary action to accept the superintendent's recommendation to employ the certified, non-certified personnel as listed below: Brandy Martin, classroom assistant, and Stephanie Hopkins, classroom assistant.
I'll make a motion, we approve and accept the superintendent's recommendation to employ those listed.
I'll second that.
Claudia Willis,
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Clasher.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Jamie Mills.
Yes. Consider and take necessary action to approve a 3% salary increase for all administrative staff except the superintendent.
And I'm not trying to be difficult, but who does this include? Would
This
this
would
be our
be,
principals?
Yes, all of our principals, assistant superintendent.
I'll make a motion, we approve a 3% salary increase for all administrative staff except the superintendent.
I'll second that.
Amy Cole-Clasher.
Yes.
Jamie Mills.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Consider and take necessary action to approve a $55,000 base salary for the district technology director position.
We try to stay competitive on these, and actually, when we first started having a technology director, we kind of pieced it together as far as you get this so much for the summer, an extra duty like this, and it's definitely become a really all-encompassing job. It's and a lot of schools our size have assistants to help, and we don't have that. And so I feel like it's important that we pay toward the top of what other districts pay, and the fact that we don't have any type of full-time assistants or anything to help our technology director out. So I would
What are we paying right now?
right now, that position that he's in currently just takes in, because he's paid as a teacher,
Right.
and then the extra duty on top of it and everything like that.
Okay. So this would just get rid of all
this
that
would
and make
this
it
would get rid of all that, and
Okay.
then any extra duty he had would still be on
Okay.
top of that, though. So,
Then I'll make a motion that we approve the $55,000 base salary for the district technology director position.
And I'll second that.
Jamie Mills.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Clasher.
Yes.
Anybody want to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
anyone want
Roll
to?
call.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Amy.
Okay. Jamie Mills.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Clasher.
Yes.
Did everyone get the information that
Yes.
I forwarded to you?
Yes.
I'm so thankful that we rescheduled because I haven't had a chance to